to give the welcome address. Before that, I just say a few ground rules for the participants. I request all to make sure the microphone remain muted always, and all participants except for speakers are requested to turn off the videos so as to conserve the bandwidth. And participants can type in the questions in the chat window anytime during the program. And at the end of the session, myself will be taking the questions with our speaker. Request participants to also type in the queries on any technical issues as well. We'll try to resolve it for you. Now I request Fida Fatima or IEEE to welcome the audience. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And a very good day to one and all. And it is my pleasure and privilege to welcome all of you to the 33rd talk of the Inter-Society Weekly Webinar Series. And here today we have the topic as Hello English as Astounding Varieties of a Language. As we know, English is a language that bonds people from all across the world. And it is a language common all around the world, but has huge variations from people to people, nation to nation, and continent to continent. One of the best assets of the English language and why it is so awesome is its flexibility. And it is a huge entity of vocabulary, and it constantly absorbs new words at the same time seeping into foreign languages as well. English contains over 750,000 words and more, and its simplicity is what it adds to the beauty and power of language. To know about the variations of the language is really interesting. And today it is an honor for us to welcome Dr. Shyamala Shashidharan, former professor of English at the Kerala University, to take this session for us. A warm welcome to you, ma'am.
Thank you.
I would also like to welcome Professor Esther Jayanti J, retired principal at All Saints College, and Dr. Deepa Prasad, assistant professor at University College. I would also like to welcome our MC for the day, Akhila Gauri Shankar of PMI Kerala. And once again, I wholeheartedly welcome all the attendees of today's event, and let's hear to yet another treasure of knowledge that we have with us today. Thank you and have an interesting session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Fida. Now I request Professor Esther Jayanti, retired principal, All Saints College, to introduce our speaker of the day. Thank you.
Thank you. Dear Professor Dr. Shyamala ma'am and friends, the subject of phonetics and phonology is a very distinctive, critical aspect of the study of English. It is tricky, difficult, and subtle for students whose mother tongue is not English. Today, we have an eminent professor with us who will deliberate on the topic. She has contributed much to the growth of linguistic studies. I'm extremely happy and proud to introduce Dr. Shyamala Shashidharan, my teacher, to all of you. Dr. Shyamala is the founder director of the International School of Dravidian Linguistics and the joint editor of its reputed journal. Dr. Shyamala began her illustrious career at All Saints College, assistant professor of English. It is here that she taught our batch of students. We still recall her elegant, gracious, and pleasing personality. She lectured to us on topics on prose, poetry, and drama in English. But when it came to language and phonetics, there was a remarkable difference. She taught with ease and confidence, as if she had a complete mastery over the subject. She taught with. Realizing that phonetics was a difficult subject, both for students and teachers alike, Dr. Shamala brought out her book, a textbook of English phonetics and structure for Indian students. She simplified the whole subject, and this book literally eases the way for a student out of the maze of structure and syntax and the intricacies of phonetics, word, and pronunciation. Her much acclaimed PhD thesis was also on ELT, acquisition of English by native speakers of Malayalam, a psycholinguistic study. Dr. Shamala later shifted from King's College to the Institute of English.
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hello?
Yes? Any problem?
It's okay, you can go ahead. It's okay.
I can go ahead.
Yeah.
Dr. Shamala later shifted from All Saints College to the Institute of English, University of Kerala, the prime center for research university. Here, Dr. Shamala could use her expertise to guide students of PhD. Many research scholars worked under her and got their PhD in areas such as ELT, sociolinguistics, African and Indian studies, and film studies. Meanwhile, in order to help the common man in his communicative skills, Dr. Shamala also wrote in various journals and also regular columns in newspapers and dailies, especially in the Malayalam Manorama and Madharbhumi. Columns were titled, "Let's Talk English" and "Fluency." She is an able administrator, as is evident from her organizing community programs, such as helping students of engineering college to learn English in order to appear for their campus interviews. She has also written and several journals, written in several journals on the subject and helped many students in the process. Widely traveled person. She has used her experience to deliver lectures in Singapore, Gulf countries, and in the US. Dr. Shamala has won accolades for her work and for her commitment to the cause of linguistics. She has also won many awards. Among her prestigious awards are the first rank state Bolt Award for Excellence for Teachers and the Bharat Jyoti Award awarded by the International Friendship Society. Today, Madam is going to talk to us on Hello English's astounding varieties of a language. She is going to dwell at length on the myriad manifestations of a language that is spoken all over the world, but that differs from person to person and also from place to place, depending on the mother tongue and the native language. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. That was a great introduction of our exemplary speaker of the day. Now, I invite Professor Shyamala Shishidharan to start the session. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
A pleasant evening to all of you. I'm indeed happy to be welcomed by my dear old student, Professor Esther Jayanti, and also by the representative of the organization. Pleasant evening to all of you. Thank you very much, Jayanti, for recalling those days and for the accolades, for the warm welcome, everything. Now, let me at the very outset congratulate the organizers of this webinar series, Mr. Harindra Lal and his team, for such a commendable program on this platform. Talks by experts on current topics, literally of absolute relevance, highlighting how the benefits of science and technology are extended to, I should say, delivered at the doorsteps of the deprived and the marginalized. A program of real social commitment. I was amazed. See, India is a country where you have lots of villages where several innumerable people are still deprived of the basic amenities of life. And I noticed that how most of these presentations address the commendable work that they are doing to extend the fruits and benefits of science and technology to sort out their problems and give them a fresh life. So it's really amazing. It's really encouraging to know that so much is happening. Hats off to you, the organizers. I'm also grateful to you for having given me this opportunity to address such an enlightened group who I believe are mainly consists of engineers, doctors, IT professionals, scientists, in short. Not exclusively, of course, all engaged in the pursuit of the intricacies of modern science and technology, but for the progress of mankind, so that humanity can march towards progress, tomorrow to fresh woods and pastures new, as Milton put it, to march into Huxley's brave new world. As I told you, I'm very grateful to you people to have given me this opportunity. Though my area is English language and literature, my area of specialization is the science of language. You call it linguistics, in particular of English language. This paper also focuses on language with its astounding varieties, thanks to change, evolution. We all know how change is a law of nature which never changes. All living things are subject to change, and so with language, because language is a living entity, and therefore it is maybe slowly but steadily, languages also undergo change. both diachronically and synchronically. Diachronically means if you look at it from a historical perspective, languages grow. That's why how we have varieties like Old English, Middle English, Modern English, Postmodern English, Old Malayalam, Middle Malayalam, and that's kind of varieties. So synchronically means you look at it at a particular point of time, and there again we can see changes leading to evolution and development. So, and this paper also focuses on these changes. It was Ferdinand de Saussure, that is the father of modern linguistics, who said the most striking thing about the study of languages is their diversity, linguistic differences that appear when we pass from one country to another, or even from one region to another.
Ma'am, if you don't mind, can you please share your screen, please?
It's not shared?
No, ma'am.
Oh my God.
Sorry for the interruption.
Okay. It's okay now? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, great. Thank you.
Welcome. So the father of modern linguistics, Ferdinand de Saussure, said the most striking thing about the study of languages is their diversity. That is, linguistic differences that appear when we pass from one country to another country, nay, even from one region of the same country to another region. I'm reminded in this context of an experience of my son while he was studying at Glasgow University. One evening, he and his friends went on a picnic to the beautiful Highlands of Scotland. On the way, the driver had a doubt about the route. He stopped a local driver and talked to him for clarification. After that, he came back, and my son and his friends asked him, "What language were you talking?" He said, "English." English? They just could not believe that was Scottish English. Scottish English. So also we have Welsh English, Irish English, depending on the region from where the speakers hail. See, region is not the only criterion based on which you have different varieties of the same language. So the best example for the criterion of socio-economic stratum of society from where you hail. The best example you get in Bernard Shaw's play Pygmalion, based on which you have the hilarious movie My Fair Lady, where the heroine Eliza Doolittle speaks typical English of the streets, of the slums, of the uneducated, the illiterate people who are in the slums. But this is irrelevant, but still, you know, in the course of 6 months, this Eliza Doolittle, who speaks this kind of language of the street, is transformed into what you call a society lady. That's, I mean, that's different. But so socioeconomic strata. Then again, there are so many criteria, in fact, based on which you have different varieties of the same language, other than region and socioeconomic strata of society. You have like your profession, job, or you know, caste, creed. All these affect language, giving rise to different varieties. You know, originally the language of a tiny island. Originally the language of a tiny island, a precious stone set in the silver seas, as described by William Shakespeare. It is the language, first language, mother tongue of the majority of people in 5 countries. This is not moving. Yeah, see, look at this. 5 countries, 5 different countries with a majority of native speakers of English. So look at this: UK, US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. In these 5 countries, English is their mother tongue. So even as L1, you look at the varieties with approximate number of speakers of English as their mother tongue or L1. But mind you, each variety is different from each other. That is, English as it's used in UK and US, Canada, Australia, all these 5 are different varieties of English as L1. Okay. Now, what happened was, by and by, this language, which is mother tongue in 5 different countries, but 5 different kinds of varieties, had a global spread. The emergence of English as an international language, thanks mainly to 2 important developments. One, the British imperialism, and the other later on, globalization. We all know how once upon a time, UK was the greatest imperialistic power, having colonies in different parts of the world. A major chunk of the globe was colonized by the British. And naturally, in all those colonized countries, it came to be used as a second language. And India is the best example. In India, there is a large chunk of people using English as an L2, but then different varieties. I can say that there are as many varieties of Indian English as there are regional languages. How many languages are there in India? And as many varieties of Indian English there. Now look at this, we're talking about the global spread. Winston Churchill, the powerful Prime Minister of UK and well-known statesman and orator, he proudly proclaimed, "The sun never sets on the British Empire." To be endorsed by Randolph Kirk in 1985, English is the language on which the sun does not set, whose users never sleep. Why? Because on either side of the globe, they have colonies. So naturally, round the clock, English language was in use. But look at this. In 2003, David Crystal, the renowned linguist, said the sun did set on the British Empire, but their language emerged as the language of power. It attained the status of an international language. And Crystal added, for every single native speaker, this, mind you, this was in 2003, for every single native speaker, there are 3 non-native speakers of English. And not year by year, but day by day, I should say, this number of non-native speakers of English hiked. And as I've already mentioned, globalization is one of the reasons. As we all know, the whole world has shrunk into a global village. And international travels, contacts, migration for different purposes, like opportunities for higher education, better job opportunities and businesses and whatnot. With this increasing international contacts, naturally, the need for a lingua franca became a necessity. There had to be a common language, and English easily attained that position. It earned the status of an international language. And even now, English does enjoy that status of an international language. Now, this paper is a peek into these astounding varieties of this language, originally that of a precious stone set in the silver seas, the beautiful little island. Now, the question is, do these differences between these varieties matter? I will say yes, they do, especially phonological deviations, means deviations or differences at the level of phonology, that is pronunciation. Why? Before I answer the question why, let's have a look at the anecdote of the pilot. See, here is an anecdote which shows how an apparently minor confusion in the communication between the pilot and the air traffic control staff resulted in a plane crash. See, apparently it's based on a little misunderstanding. Look at this. Between the two words, TWO2 and TO2. See, both use the sound oo, but in two, it is pronounced as oo, too, because it is technically, we call it a content word. That is a word with lots of meaning content, whereas the other TO, that is only a preposition. So semantically, it's not important, though grammatically it's important. Such words are called functors. We'll come to this later. So what happened was, the pilot misunderstood the 2400 for 400, misunderstanding the 2 for T, and he descended to 400 meters instead of 2,400 meters as meant by the ATC. So that underlines, the importance of confusion in communication between people of different countries. And I'll just refer to one more example for this. That is, these days of international contacts, many people often do have to stay in hotels of other countries. So here is one instance. There was a guest in a hotel room. He had checked in, and first thing he wanted to do was to contact the room service because he wanted to eat something. So he dialed. Then from the other side, he could hear loudly, room service, room service. Oh my God, I thought I dialed room service. Yes, yes, this is room service. My God, he was flabbergasted. He just not make out what the boy said. I thought. Then he said, what do you want? What do you want? Coffee or tea? Oh, it's room service only. Coffee? What is that, by the way? I didn't ask him to get a copy of anything. Coffee or tea? With tea, he could make out, oh, it's coffee. Yes, yes, I like coffee. Then he went on, toast, toast, toast. My God, again, he could not make out what he meant. Oh, you mean toast? Toast, yes. With butter or without butter? My God, this is exasperating. What is butter? Butter? What goes with toast? Could be butter. You mean butter? Yes, yes, butter, butter. And it goes on like that. And at the end of it, he wound up his talk with thank you very much. Thank you very much. And before that, he read through the whole list in this kind of language. So this again, underscores the importance of deviant pronunciation, which may lead to such disastrous consequences. So if the listener does not understand the speaker, the very purpose of communication is defeated, and hence the importance. So as already told you, my focus here is on such phonological deviations, since they can be critical, often affecting intelligibility. That is, as I told you, the listener is not able to understand the speaker. Now, so this is more important than other deviations in other aspects of language like syntax, morphology, semantics, or whatever, because this negative impact of logical differences is crucial. Now, why does this happen? Why does this happen? The first and most important reason, I believe, is what is technically called mother tongue interference, which means the negative impact of one's own mother tongue on his use of a second language. Okay, and this is called mother tongue interference. Sometimes there may be some positive impact, but by mother tongue interference, what is meant is the negative impact of your mother tongue on the use of your any second language. What is meant by this? What happens is, every language has its own phonological system, which differs from the systems of all other languages. And when we are using a second language, if you come across a particular sound, technically you call it a phoneme, with which you are not familiar because it's not there in your own language, the tendency used to substitute the nearest equivalent of it in your own mother tongue. Now, let's have a look at the, I'll try to explain it with the help of English and Malayalam, I suppose the mother tongue of many of these people who are here attending this. Now, have a look at this English phonological system. It has a system of 44 speech sounds, out of which there are 12 pure vowels. See, 12 pure vowels. They're all represented here in this chart with the help of symbols and illustrated with the help of a word. For example, look at the first one, E as in sheep, E as in ship, U as in good, U as in shoot, goes on like that. All the 12 represented with the help of symbols, and each symbol represented, illustrated with the help of a word. Now, see, diphthongs. Diphthongs means, pure vowels means throughout it has the same kind of quality, but diphthongs are combinations of vowels. For example, Malayalam has 2 diphthongs. By the way, when English has 12 pure vowels, Malayalam has 10 of them. And diphthongs, Malayalam has 2 diphthongs, while English has 8. See, the 2 Malayalam diphthongs are I and OW. And look at English. The ear, as in the previous chart, symbols represent sounds and illustrated with the help of words. First one, ear. That's the tongue moves from E to R, and you have the glide or the diphthong, ear, as in hear. A, as in wait. Oor, as in tourist. Oi, as in boy. And so like that, 8 of them. But what happens is, we'll come to that. I'll illustrate all this with the help of examples. Now we come to consonants. Consonants, this is more or less like in Malayalam, we have kaika gaikana, chaicha jaichanya, kaika daikana, that, kind of stuff. So here there are 24 consonant sounds in English. P as in P, B as in boat, T as in tea, and D as in dog, F as in fly, and goes on like that. See, 24 of them, each one represented with a symbol and illustrated with the help of a word. Now, let's have a look at how this happens. That is deviations due to mother tongue interference. As I told you, in the absence of a particular phoneme in the second language, it's not there in your own language, your tendency is to substitute it with the nearest equivalent. For example, look at these words: van, apple, bag. And those with Malayalam as a mother tongue may tend to pronounce these words as van, apple, bag, because that a sound is not there in Malayalam. Then look at this, words like hot, body, college. They may tend to pronounce these as hot, body, college, or college, depending on their mother tongue. I think Italians tend to pronounce this college as college, whereas Malayalis tend to pronounce it as college. See, when I was studying in All Saints College, the bus board is written in Malayalam. It will be either All Saints College or All Saints College, but never all, because all is not there in Malayalam. And I'm also reminded of an experience of mine in Bahrain. I was visiting a classroom, of primary class, and the teacher was teaching them English. She showed them a picture and said, look here, here is a man who makes pots, and one who makes pots is called a potter. It's a pot, because all is not there. It's pot. So hot, body, college, and then you pronounce it as hot, body, college. And then look at this, another set, aside, along, above. But then we tend to pronounce them as aside, along, above. Why? That initial sound is which is again absent in Malayalam. So instead of they'll use a, and the influence of spelling is also there. So they pronounce it as aside, along, above, because how is there? Instead of aside, along, above. Then this is a very common mistake. B-U-S. It's invariably pronounced as best, best. You always hear children or students in the evening, besvarne. And it's a bus, actually, bus, Again, same reason. Is not a phoneme in Malayalam. Now, here are a couple of examples of deviations due to mother tongue interference with reference to diphthongs. See, gate, table, cake. But gate, table, cake. But this A is not there in Malayalam. I've already told you only two diphthongs in Malayalam, ow and I and ow. So A, they don't know. So what are the gate, table, cake. Long vowel A. Gate, table, cake. Instead of gate, table, cake. Then these words, no, go, so, boat, coat, okay. These will be pronounced as no, go, so, boat, coat, okay. Okay is now, most frequently word. And invariably, in the case of most people, it is okay, 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 okay. That's a cattle feed, I suppose. So no, go, so, boat. Instead of no, go, so. So this is another example. Then look at these words. It's shine, mine, I is there in Malayalam, but then they insert a ya, mine, shine. Then joy, call, joy, koi. Oh, because again, oh is not there. It's oi, it's a diphthong, we're talking about diphthongs. Now, the next one, those two words. Here, mere, ear is the diphthong. And that again is not there in our own mother tongue. So we say here, near, here, mere. So then this is also a very commonly used word these days, tour and tourist. But that's pronounced as tour and tourist. The same reason, no? O is not there. So nearest equivalent is O. So tour and tourist. Now, deviations due to mother tongue interference with reference to consonants. See, there are quite a number of consonants which are not there in Malayalam. So this substitution happens. And again, due to mother tongue. See, were, the sound were is not there in Malayalam, but it has va. So actually, it's very well. It is wind. It is rip, van, winkle. But we tend to pronounce them as very well, wind, rip, van, winkle. That is, instead of were, we use a were, because were is not there in Malayalam, nearest is were. Then again, see these two sounds, th. It is actually think, free. It's not three and think. It is think, free. Then z, it's zoo and news. And we tend to pronounce it as so and news, because sa is there, but z is not there. Then look at these words. Teacher, duck, money, play. These will be pronounced as teacher, duck, money, play. But it in Malayalam, they are pronounced as ta, da, na, la. We call them retroflex technically, but English doesn't have retroflex sounds. It's not teacher, it's teacher. It's not duck, duck. It's not money, it's money. It's not play, it is play, la. So ta, da, na, and la. Then another thing is, letter R is pronounced in words like, not pronounced in English, like car, silent, heart, father, mother. So these they tend to pronounce as car, heart, father, mother. Years ago, I was taking class for teachers of English from a number of government colleges. In those days, anybody who had a graduation, any subject could teach English. And the teachers were pronouncing the words father, mother. then how do you expect the students? Natural. Then again, double letters, but no double consonants in English. See, so words like summer, rubber, pepper, supper. That's the way they're pronounced in English. But then we tend to pronounce them as summer, rubber, pepper, supper. But this double consonants, that is immer, ibba, not there. But in Malayalam, it's very common. We have words like, chatti, papekya. I think most of the consonants have this double in pronunciation. But in English, that's not the case. So, these are about mother tongue interference. Then another very important hurdle causing this phonological deviations is disparity between spelling and pronunciation. It's natural because, I told you English has 44 speech sounds, 44 phonemes, 12 plus 8 plus 24. But then how many letters are there in the English alphabet? 26. So with an alphabet with 26 letters, how can you represent the pronunciation of a language with 44 speech sounds? So no wonder this is a big hurdle. Look at these words: city, city, letter C, sir. Cat, same letter C for k. And in sachet, again, there is a C. But then, see, in all these three words, letter C represents different sounds. Then, bird, heard, heart, hard. The middle sounds, bird, IR, heard, also but look at the spelling. So, then again, words like knee, k, letter K doesn't represent any sound. Kick, again k, but in no, it is silent. So then again, there are silent letters in words. Certain letters are silent. For example, tomb, bomb, cow, lamb. And we tend to pronounce them as tomb, bomb, comb, lamb. But actually, the letter B is absolutely silent. It's tomb, bomb, cow, and lamb. Mary had a little lamb. You say lamb. It's also father, mother, brother. And we tend to pronounce them as father, mother, brother. Now, double letters, but no double consonants. We already mentioned this. Words like summer, supper, dinner, rubber, pronounced as summer, supper, dinner, rubber. Now, say proper nouns. That's very funny. Look at place names, for example, like Kottayam, Karunakaran, Kollam. I'll just talk about one word, Karunakaran. See, when it's written in Malayalam, there is no problem because ka, ru, na, that is indicated with a symbol that it is a long So when you write it in Malayalam, we will read it as Karunakaran. But when you write it in English, is there anything to indicate that certain A's are long and certain A's are short? No. So we tend to, naturally, a non-native speaker who's not a native speaker of Malayalam will tend to pronounce it as Karunakaran, Karunakaran. So also Kottayam, Kottayam. An Englishman may read this as Kottayam because his language doesn't have itta. It's the other way. So these are some of the, we have a very funny example here. I'm sure you'll enjoy this. From this very popular show called Lucy Show. And this episode is I Love Lucy English Pronunciation. There's a fun-packed bit of conversation between Lucy and her husband, which proves this point beautifully. See, this happens like this. Lucy is a native speaker of English and her husband is a non-native speaker of English. And one night, this is how it happens. She says, come on, let's read a story to our son. Imagine I'm the son and you are the father. Come on. And she gives him a book. Read out from this book a story. He agreed and he started reading.
The entire family is watching.
Once upon a
extended family on Delhi.
Once upon a time, a farmer went into a forest and he started cutting down booges. Huh? Lucy was taken aback. Bouges? Come on, show me. What's the word? So the word was actually B-O-U-G-H-S. And she said, oh, this is bows in English, not bouges. Naturally, husband wasn't happy, but he continued. Come on, let's continue. Then he continued to read. He was so hardworking that the work made his hands raw. Huh? Raw. So. R-O-U-G-H. That is rough. See, what is the logic there? If B-O-U-G-H is bow, R-O-U-G-H logically has to be raw. So poor man. But logic doesn't stand before English. It's really a crazy language. Then he continued. Because he was very hardworking, his day's work was so tough. Tough? Oh my God. Show, come on. He showed. The word was T-H-R-O-U-G-H. If R-O-U-G-H is raw, then T-H-R-O-U-G-H has to be, no, I'm sorry, R-O-U-G rough, then T-H-R-O-U-G-H has to be rough. My God. He continued. Very soon, he developed a cow or coo. So it is cough, C-O-U-G-H. You see, same type of spelling, but look at the variation in pronunciation. This naturally creates problems. So now let's have a look at some commonly mispronounced words because of mother tongue interference. Words like auto, backward, college, cupboard, courier, elite, litter. I'm sorry, liter. It's not litter, it's liter, receiver, sachets, stomach, stupid, target, onion, various, goes on and on like that. So the thing is, there is absolutely no rhyme or logic in what letters of the alphabet, in what context represents a particular sound. It does not. It's absolutely crazy, absolutely illogical. So naturally, this causes severe problems. A few more words here. See, aunt and ant. It's very common, people, pronouncing aunt as ant. And the auntie were no, my auntie. As a nose, no, same pronunciation. Boat, bought, and got, goat. Bath, but bathed. Tear, T-I-E-R, tear. We talk about 3 tire, 2 tire. It's actually tear. But mind you, you have to have the context in mind. If you go to a train, you are a traveler, when the ticket examiner comes and say, I want a 2-tier berth, he won't understand you. So context is always important. So from a practical point of view. Then the other word is both tear and tear. As verb it is tear, as noun it is tear. Then crisis, but crises. Forgotten, immersion, all this with just one single term, and immortal. Now, so far we have been discussing problems at the level of phonemes. Phonemic level means speech sounds called phonemes. But the greatest hurdle is not here. It is at a level above the phonemic level. That's called suprasegmental features of English. Suprasegmental means above the level of speech segments, that is phonemes. These suprasegmental features of English are a conspicuous feature of English, and it is almost absent in many Indian languages, especially Malayalam. Let's have a look at this with illustrations. See, suprasegmental features of English: stress, pitch, intonation. There are different others. I'm focusing on just the most important ones. Look at these words. Actually, these words are to be pronounced as examination, manner, because, politician. And we tend to pronounce it as examination, manner, because, politician. See, that's because we don't have anything equivalent to stress in Malayalam. So instead of pronouncing it, it's examination, stress on ne, manner on ma, and because on ko, and politician on t. So the problem doesn't end with that. Look at this. The stress is not always on a particular syllable. Say, stress shift in derivatives. Words derived from the same root. For example, politics, but political and politician. See, unless we know this, we say politics, political, politician. And intelligibility may be affected with some people. So it's politics with stress on po, political with stress on li, and politician with stress on t. So look at the next one. It's photograph, but photographer and photographic. We may pronounce it as photograph, photographer, photographic. See, it's photograph, photographer, and photographic, because stress shifts in derivatives. Another example, see, academy, but academic and academician, not academy, academic, and academician. Now, another problem, see, this is again related to this stress. Words like some words are pronounced both, used both as a noun or adjective and also as verb. And the stress shift, say insult on in, and you pronounce it as insult when it is a noun. But as a verb, we pronounce it as insult, insult. Then conduct as a noun. As a verb, it is conduct. Stress moves from the first call to that. Object is a noun, but object. I object to this. What's this object? That is an insult. Don't insult people. Addict as a noun, but addicted, etc. So stress on the first syllable when it is used as noun or adjective, but stress on the second syllable when it is used as a verb. It's not that easy, you know. Now we come to sentence stress and rhythm. That is, it's not only at the level of words that we have this suprasegmental thing called stress. Sentences also have stress. You see, the leaves rustle in the gentle breeze. This is the key to the kingdom of heaven. Instead, we may read it as the leaves rustle in the gentle breeze. That's not the way. See, the leaves rustle in the gentle breeze. This is the key to the kingdom of heaven. No. This is the key to the kingdom of heaven. That's because, you know, content words, I mentioned earlier with that anecdote of the pilot, say the content words, that is words with content, semantic content, are stressed. They are content words. Here in the first sentence, leaves, its meaning, rustle, gentle, breeze. Look at the smaller words, the, in, the. They are, we call them function class words. It's semantically not important, but grammatically important. So they are not stressed. Though not with as much degree of force as the others are. So also this, key, king, heaven, but the other is the, to, the, they are all pronounced with less degree of force. So as I told you, content words are stressed, but functors are not stressed. Then rhythm, another important feature of English, and again conspicuously absent in several other languages, so Malayalam. Stress timed rhythm in English and not syllable timed as in Malayalam. If I go into this detail, it go on and on. Now let's let me confine myself to the important points. Strong and weak forms, functors themselves, like, you know, in certain places that function word to may have to be stressed, like are you sure where you are going to? Then it has importance like that. Now rhythm is a beautiful suprasegmental feature of English, but then it's not there in Malayalam. You know, there is a beautiful PhD thesis by Professor Velaythan, who was he's no more now. He was at Bangalore RIE, making a thorough study of the comparison between the phonological systems of English and Malayalam. A beautiful work. And one of his findings is that the greatest difference between English and language is in this suprasegmental features. So conspicuous in English, but almost absent, or negligent in a language like Malayalam. Look at this. So English is a typically rhythmic language. Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. So it's not only, the rhythm is obvious, but it's not only this nursery rhymes which are rhythmic. The day-to-day conversation, casual language, if you use English casually for day-to-day conversations, then also it is rhythmic. Stress time rhythm and not syllable time. More examples. See. Now we come to pitch and intonation. Now the important suprasegmental feature, pitch. You all must have heard the word pitch. How do I illustrate it? The best I thought would be from music. Excuse me, I'm not a musician, but I think it will serve the purpose here. See, sa ri ga ma pa da ni sa ni tha pa ma ga ri sa. I think it's obvious from this. The first, the pitch is rising, call it a rising pitch, and the second, sa ni tha pa. Now gradually but steadily pitch is falling. So, the significant variation in pitch and stress in utterances is referred to as intonation patterns. We'll just have a look at the major intonation patterns in English. See, I've already told you, I mentioned falling and rising. There is one more called fall rise. See, all these are examples of utterances where with a falling intonation. The water is warm. What is your name? See, it's falling. You are coming, aren't you? Get out. What a lovely scene. Okay, then see examples of rising tone. You're coming? Are you coming? Why were you late? You're coming, aren't you? Please pass the sugar. And I'll come to this later. See, third one, fall rise. He's clever. It's not he is clever. You can in a particular context. He is clever becomes a question. He is clever. It has implied meaning. They are rich with a fall rise. It's a fall followed by a rise. Now let's have a look at, see, types of sentences and their intonation patterns. What type of sentence has what type of intonation? See, falling. The example I gave, remember, the water is warm, what's your name, etc. So first is declarative sentences as statements. It makes a statement. For example, water is warm. You are right. I'm going home. Then second, last item in counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. Last one with a falling, all the others with rising. WH questions beginning with a WH word. What's your name? It's not what is your name? It's what's your name? Falling. What's your name? Where do you stay? Where do you go? Etc. Tag questions. The small questions with a falling in the normal sense. Like you are coming, aren't you? You know that is coming. So it's not for an answer. Then commands. Get out. Get out. It's from the intonation. The same we can pronounce with a rising intonation, get out. It becomes a request. So that is how, then exclamations. What a lovely scene, falling. Now let's see what type of sentences use rising. Same declarative sentences, but as question. Take water is warm with a falling intonation, it's a statement. Water is warm. Same, with a rising intonation becomes a question. Then counting, a listing, except the last. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The last one falling, all the others with rising. Listing also like that. Then yes, no questions. Questions for which the answer is either yes or no. Rising. Are you sure? Are you coming? The answer is either yes or no. It's not, are you coming? Are you coming? Then tag questions as questions. You want to answer that. Then WH questions in a friendly way. Then why did you do this? You don't want to answer. You should not have done this. Then polite requests. Get out. See, you don't say please or anything. Just the intonation. Get out. Following, it's a command. Get out. It becomes a request. So same utterances with different intonations. You see how the meaning changes. Then fall rise are utterances with implied meaning. Remember the examples? You say he is clever. With a falling means it's a statement. He's clever. It becomes my question. You say he is clever. He is clever. It means it has an implied meaning which is derogative. Yes, he is clever, but he is naughty as well. I know that, but you don't say it. But with a fall rise, you understand it. Another example. See, look at those houses. Very beautiful. You say, yes, beautiful, but I know something more. Beautiful, you say it with a fall rise, and it has an implied meaning which is derogatory. So you can get 19 examples. For example, yes, the monosyllabic word yes. You say yes means you agree. Yes, it's true. Yes, it becomes a question. What? Yes, implied. Yes, but I can't. It has an implied meaning. So let's have a look at this remedial measures. This really does need some remedial measures because it does affect intelligibility. If, as I told you already, the listener can't understand the speaker, then what's the point? I better hurry up, you're running out of time. See, teacher training, very important. Teacher is very crucial. As I told you already, now the BA course is there. But I don't know whether the teacher is properly trained. I think the material is okay, but whether the teachers put into practice what they are taught. Teaching material, again, crucial. The books, etc., which are used for teaching. Teaching methodology, again, there are umpteen. I'm not going into the details. And most important, called CLT, communicative language teaching, very popular with emphasis on communication, because at the end of the day, the purpose of language is communication. Then last, but most important, says technology. Technology, myriads of ways in which technology can help us overcome these problems. Now a list of the different types of tools, the blackboard, flashcards, word cards, etc., etc., and then TV, internet, video camera, and whatnot. There are no doubt of tools for language teaching, but then comes the million-dollar question. Can technology replace teachers? If technology is so potential, do you think it can replace the teacher in the classroom? My answer is no. According to me, technology is just another tool in the hands of the teacher. What's important is the actual quality of our teaching. How we use our tools, whether we're using multimedia or net or sand on a beach. It is in the resourceful hands of a dedicated teacher. Any tool can be a magic wand. So I think I'll stop share now. Okay. Yeah, shall I?
Well, ma'am,
Yeah.
that was really great. Let me actually quote one of our participants' text itself. Thank you, Shamla ma'am. That's Radha who has said it. Thank you, Shamla ma'am, for this amazing, interesting, and informative presentation. It took me back to the days in college. Feel blessed and proud to be known as one of your students.
Yeah,
Yes.
she's in UK now, She's in UK now.
And well, I really worried whether my pronunciation is right or not. Okay, please pardon me if there are any mistakes, for I'm not an English student. Okay. Now, that was really great, and the examples that you chose were wonderful. We could really relate ourselves to many of those examples, though not an English student. Shall I now take over to the questions that we have got it? Here's, I'll club two questions, one from Beena Gopinath and Venkatraman Ramachandran. Beena ma'am says that, what are the remedial measures that you would suggest to address these differences in spoken English at the grassroots level, and when and where should they be introduced? And
Okay.
here Venkatraman also has a lot of a similar one. What would the best approach be in order to unlearn and learn whatever wasn't learned correctly?
Yeah, catch them young. Catch them young. You know, language acquisition, you use that word with the reference to first language, whether it is language acquisition or second language learning, the best period is childhood. You know, it happens automatically. In language acquisition, both first language acquisition and second language learning, both are not hereditary. There's no heredity about it. You and me, growing up in England, will speak like a native Briton, a native English speaker, and Brit growing up here in our country will speak like you or me. So there's nothing hereditary about it at all. So it's environmental, and catch them young, because the younger you are, the easier for you to learn a language. Not only language, of course, you know, it applies to all kinds of skills. Any kind of skill, the best time to learn is childhood. Yeah. So whatever remedial measures, there are lots and lots, of course, but they should be introduced at the early stages of their. And then again, teacher, very important, you know. I told you my own experience, the teacher herself. And the case of many of our students, you know, the only exposure to English will be the teacher's English. If the teacher's English is like this, then how can you blame them? It's not all that difficult, in fact, you know. You have to set your mind. These days, you know, lots of migrations happening, lots of people traveling. So it's a need of the hour, I'll say. It's a need of the hour. So you need to have a kind of, I'm not saying that the L2 learner should speak like an L1 speaker. Say, think of a native Briton speaking Malayalam. See, just like that. It's not specific to English or any language for that matter. Remedial measures, but then on global level, and the teacher, the teaching methods, see, all that I mentioned, all those need, you know, great attention, properly prepared. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this unlearning, how can it happen, is really a great point there.
See, I told you the best way is look at the future and catch them young. Then unlearning is rather difficult, but if there is a way, I'm sorry, if there is a will, there is a way. Depends on your determination. You make up your mind.
Yeah.
I know a teacher, a very aged person. He was for some days Chennai. You know, he hails from the poor, I mean, that socio-economic strata. And once he was in a hotel, he was working as a bearer, the bearer. So there's a foreigner. He says, I want sunny side up. Man didn't understand because poor man. And he shouted at him. And that day, that moment, he made up his mind, I will speak like a native speaker. And he did. And he did. That's a real experience, I'm telling you. So it's nothing like impossible in this world. But you have to set your heart and mind 100% to it, I'm sure.
Yes, ma'am. Well, Mr. Beshi says, English is a global language for another reason. It has the biggest vocabulary than any other. Is that true?
No, not because of that. It is because of the need for an international language, because you know, of this need for international communication. Vocabulary, that's because there's another aspect. See, there are other aspects like grammar, syntax, vocabulary, syntax. I focused on phonological, you know why? Because that is critical, because it affects intelligibility. Vocabulary, because you know why? English borrowed left and right. Do you know that English vocabulary has words from Indian languages like curry, coolie? All this we'll find in the dictionary. It's another area, Yella. Not at all because of that. That's a topic in English language teaching and learning, vocabulary. It has got, I should say, you know, a kind of the biggest vocabulary we can say coming from different sources. Yeah, but that is an entirely different area.
Yeah, ma'am. Now, another question here is from Sohan. In your opinion, is this variance in English to be celebrated as a reflection of human diversity? Or is it better if the world heads in the direction of everyone speaking a more homogenized version of English, such as British English?
Hi, Sohan. It's my grandson. Is it?
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's from Dubai. I'm very happy. And he has a wide exposure to different, I should say, varieties of English or so many languages. So it's not that it's not possible. Homogeneous is not, and there's no need also. You see, my idea is not that an L2 speaker should speak like an L1, not at all. It's a kind of, with regional angularities ironed out. See, a person who pronounces a word like body, that can be changed to body, like that. It doesn't mean at all, it's not possible. As I told you, a native speaker of English can't speak Malayalam as, we speak. So this applies to all L1 speakers and L2 speakers, and say varieties and varieties among L1 varieties and L2 varieties. That is why I said it's mind-boggling, really, astounding varieties. There is no limit to it. But we needn't aim at a homogeneous kind of English, but as I told you, with the angularities ironed out as much as possible, so that intelligibility should not be affected. That should be our aim. You understand each other. That's possible. That's possible.
That's great. Fine. I'm clubbing two questions. One from SB stating that history shows that different languages have had influence at different times. French used to be the language of diplomacy and literature in Europe for a long time. Persian was similarly predominant in many parts of the world. So we can't rule out that other languages becoming at least as prominent as English is what SB says. While Mr. Bashi says English got established because the British were an economic and military power. Now that China is rising as a global economic power, can Chinese replace English as a lingua franca of the world?
Yeah, correct, very correct. I never said throughout history, at this point of time, I said English has attained the status of an international language. What the first person said is very correct. At different points in history, you can find different languages enjoying the status of an international language, not English. At this point of time, I said, and for over a period of time, of course, because the reasons also I gave, imperialism, British imperialism, colonization, and now globalization. Tomorrow, it may be Chinese or some other language, quite possible. So very true. What you said is very correct. You can't predict, maybe it depends on what happens in the world, developments in the world. And accordingly, in future, it may be some other language. And in the past, at various points of time, it was, it was different languages. But now it is English. That's all that I said, international language.
Well, coming to that, one more question from Venkatesh is, English is spoken differently in different parts of England. Which version of spoken English is considered the reference or the authentic version? And Bashir has stated BBC English is considered authentic. So what's your...
That's a very good question. Once upon a time, there was a variety called standard English. It's no more there. Actually, linguistics, there is no value judgment. There is nothing like good English, bad English, or good Malayalam, bad Malayalam. It's all very, not prescriptive, it is descriptive. Form of languages as it is used by a group of people. As told you, in history of England, you can find once upon a time standard English. That's, as he said, the best kind of English. That was the type of English spoken in and around the city of London, because London was the most important hub or center or whatever you call it of everything, commerce, trade, literature, and whatnot. Therefore, the type of English spoken in and around London came to be known as the standard English, but no more. Now it's all different varieties. No one variety has a prominence over the other. That's what you call descriptive and not prescriptive. Okay.
That's great. Well, ma'am, you had said catch them young. Here's one question from SB. The mother tongue does cause interference, and sometimes people draw the conclusion that we should teach only one language. But research shows that children and people who are bilingual or multilingual do better in many areas because the experience of managing multi-languages influences cognitive processes. In this sense, the monolingual countries, England, US, are more disadvantaged. What is your view on teaching young children multiple languages if this can be done well?
It's good. Cognitively, also it's good because, you know, you are in your own country and your mother tongue, you are immersed in an environment of your mother tongue. If you start learning English from class 1, that will in no way affect your learning of your mother tongue. That happens automatically because you are immersed in an environment at home, at school, because everybody is a native speaker, for example, Malayalam. So this happens automatically. So if English, they teach you English from a very young age, that in no way affects their learning of their mother tongue. Absolutely not. I'm sure. See, for example, in UAE, in Dubai, this problem, my daughter was sharing it with me. She said how, you know, their mother tongue is Arabic, and their medium at college level is English. They find it difficult, really difficult. So that's because, you know, their early education was completely in Arabic. And this later stage, it is rather hard. So had they been educated in English, they would have used both Arabic and English well. So it, no way it affects. It's only for their, you know, that will help them develop their faculties. No way.
Well, this question is a little difficult for me to put it through because I don't know whether my pronunciation is getting tricky. Nahas Abdul, okay, he's saying, Madam, would you please elaborate on the different pronunciations of the word the, that's not correct, I know, in different contexts?
Yeah, see, the, it's a very commonly used word, right?
Yeah.
It is D with a E, D when it is followed by a vowel, and it is the when it's followed by a consonant. See, all these things children can learn. No, it's not, this is not the way actually they imbibe. The teacher uses English, others use English. So it happens automatically, but just because they ask, they clarify. For example, the orange, but the consonant or the table, followed by a consonant, the, and otherwise the.
Great, thank you so much.
Welcome.
Well, now one more here. Well, what is?
See, I raised a question actually when the talk was there on national education policy.
Okay.
It stipulates that till 5th class or 8th class, education should be in mother tongue and English should come, but it's too late. It's in Malayalam, you say, Kadarin mel valam vekkiga. It's like that. Whereas if you introduce at a very low level, nothing will happen to your mother tongue. Because that is natural, you know, that's acquisition. Everywhere you are exposed to it, but not so the case of English. And you do need English at this point of time. So many people are migrating, you know, for better living, for better opportunities, education and whatnot. So I believe that we have to take this seriously and have remedial measures in place.
Yes. Now, Ms. Veena has shared her experience of travel to visiting UK and the difficulty she felt on the different dialects there of English. So now we know why there are Englishes even within England and the land of English, just as it's so with the kind of Malayalam that is spoken in different parts of Kerala. Now there's one question related to that. One more that is, I'll just get it 1 minute. On the slangs, they had one question was there. Yeah, what's the role that should slangs be encouraged in both spoken and written language in case of English?
No, but because my focus is on phonological difference, on pronunciation, naturally, you know, the focus is on that. Writing, when you travel, I think more important, you need the spoken version more than written. And the difficulty is for writing, you have to study the letters of the alphabet as well. Depends on your need. For what purpose you are going somewhere like that. Otherwise, objectively, you can't say this is more important, that's more important. It's all, context bound.
Yes, true. I think here's one. I'm an ex-army officer, Colonel Narayan, and in military academy, phonetics is taught as a subject during training. Speaking in correct phonetical accent does increase the confidence level of communication. So, your opinions?
Naturally, it does. Because if you realize that you are understood by the listener, what else do you need? Whereas, like that pilot or the guest in the hotel room service, or like Lucy's husband, if you're not understood, see, you feel defeated. So that is it. Naturally, you do get more confidence if you're sure that you're speaking in a type of English which is understandable to the listener. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there are people are still interested, and many questions will come, but in the interest of time, I will try to conclude this, and then I'll request Dr. Deepa Prasad, Assistant Professor, University College, to propose the vote of thanks.
He's my student now teaching in my alma mater.
Oh, great.
Yeah, university, college.
Oh, that's great.
You won't believe the trick she played on me today,
Ah,
years ago, and she took a photograph of me as a young student and sent it to me. Ma'am, is this you?
great.
That was real fun. There she is, Deepa.
Thank you.
And I told her, log
Please.
in first, it's time. I told her.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
had some technical problems. That's why I was slightly late.
Okay.
But I managed.
You have a role to play today.
Uh,
You should not be.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. Good evening, everyone. It's an honor, a privilege, and a pleasure to be here sharing a platform with my guide, my PhD supervising teacher. She is a role model of professionalism. So, as is evident from today's talk, I'm sure all the points that I wanted to mention were already mentioned in the chat box. Like it was informative, it was well structured, the examples were all really nice. And it took me back to my college days. Yes, that too, ma'am. And what's amazing is that she pepped up all the heavy things with such examples so that it sounded so simple and easy. She made it all sound like as easy as an apple pie sort of thing. But these are all things that we take semesters to actually teach and to understand. When we were students, we learned it across an academic year. But then she compressed everything into a capsule, but without draining out or losing out on any of the significances of the ideas. And it all seemed so simple when she presented it. Actually, I was actually thinking about that. How simple and easy it all sounded. And we take so much of time to actually put these things across to the students to teach them actually. So, and I've been a participant in many of the events organized by the IEEE Kerala Section, and I'm immensely, I'm immensely impressed by the variety of topics that they bring in. So this was actually a double privilege for me because one is, of course, I get to listen to Shyamala ma'am's talk. The other is that I, 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 I get to say the vote of thanks, the official vote of thanks. Uh, so I hope I'm visible and audible. I
Yeah,
can't see
you are.
myself. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So it was well structured, as is always with her, very to the point. There was nothing extraneous. There was nothing you can delete from the presentation. Everything was to the point, everything added to the topic. And also it was like, it appealed to the various strata of the audience. Like there is no professional boundaries. Like this is okay for an engineer, but not for a doctor. Not that kind of stuff at all. But she made it universally appealing. And the examples that she chose, actually, I think she's far ahead of us. Like from Shakespeare and Churchill, she was citing examples from ATC conversations and that very contemporary sort of thing.
I don't think even I do that now. Okay, I mean, like, we go after the stale examples that have been imbibed by us, but she made it all very, very, very millennial sort of thing. The examples, like it came in the chat box, the rendition, the examples, the illustrations, everything was so very, I don't know, I can't find an adjective for that, but from the chat box, I think it's obvious that it's a huge blockbuster success, the talk actually.
Thank you.
Okay, and the last question, the note on which that she ended the talk, will technology replace a teacher? It's a very, very pertinent question, and there are lots of discussions and discourses happening there. So what she has done is like she has managed to pick up a lot of heavy stuff from the area of linguistics, and she has managed to link it all up and made it into a very appealing sort of talk so that everybody gets the nuances of it. Not a single person would feel left out. You know, this is too technical. That kind of a feel is never there. And the question, the last question, of course, the note on which that she ended, that is actually the punch. You know, that is where we should start thinking. The beginning point of our thought process, I believe. I believe that's what she meant. Like, isn't technology just another tool? Should we be too reliant on technology, or rather, shouldn't we use technology as a tool? So I hope that's what she meant by that question. So uh, uh, anyway, it was like I've already said, it's a double honor, double privilege, and such a pleasure. And I could also see Beena ma'am and Esther Jayanti ma'am. So I should thank IEEE Kerala also, IEEE Kerala also for this event. And on behalf of IEEE Kerala section and all the participants here, I take this opportunity to thank Professor Shyamala for this wonderfully enriching experience for this wonderfully articulated and structured talk, ma'am. It was indeed a very pleasant evening, as you had wished us all at the beginning of the talk. It was a really pleasant evening. It was a very memorable one for us. So thank you so much, Shyamala, ma'am, on an official note.
Thank you for your words.
Okay. And let me also thank the organizers for organizing this event, for bringing Shyamala ma'am as the resource person, and also for giving me an opportunity to thank her. It's like I keep on saying, it's actually a privilege for me. It's an honor for me. So thank you so much. Looking forward to more events. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you, Dr. Deepa. Well, the event was organized by the following societies like IEEE Kerala Section, the Institute of Engineers India Kerala State Center, Computer Society of India Trivandrum Chapter, Project Management Institute Kerala Chapter, Internet Society Trivandrum Chapter, Vaikam Maulavi Foundation Trust Trivandrum, IEEE Engineering in Medicine and Biology Kerala Chapter EMES. And indeed, a special thanks to Harinder Lal sir, who takes real great efforts to bring in different topics. That was great. And there is another interesting here request in the chat box that there's a request for sharing the video of your session, ma'am. I think it will be okay if you if you don't, you will not mind it, I believe, because it was an interesting session and really too many interesting or not interesting, actually relevant topics which we can pass it on to our children and others as well.
Oh, it's a pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. That was great. And now I will request participants. Now we have come to, of course, it was a little extended, but I'm sure you'll all say that it was engrossing and this extension you will not have minded. Now here we go. We'll announce next Wednesday's talk is on understanding safety, risk, and human factors by Mr. Narayan Kuti K, registered plant and machinery valuer and risk consultant. Same time next week, 6 o'clock. So until then, goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we leave it?